Hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday. The S&P 500 was up 0.8% today. Really kind of an interesting day altogether because it could have been much, much better, actually. Friday after hours, after the market was closed, they announced that they were making an exemption for computers and iPhones and chips and what have you. And the market was really ready to roll on Monday today. But then, of course, on the weekend, they kind of muddied the water some, saying, no, the 20% tariff still stands. It's not the whole 145%, so that's a good thing. But also that these tariffs were just temporary and that, we could expect, them to come back and what have you. So I think one of the problems that we're having here altogether is that, we're in the middle of this negotiating situation. And if you're going to negotiate for some real estate, there's, the ramifications outside of that particular negotiations aren't that big. If you're going to negotiate, trade policy in an extremely aggressive way, you're creating all kinds of potential problems because we've got all of these people, consumers, and we have these CEOs who are confused by what is happening, which way is it going today? And so you're going to end up with a scenario where you're starting to see pullback. We're seeing that, the airlines have already reported a drop down in flights. The analysts are cutting back on the earnings expectations for hotels, again, for the same reason as far as that goes. So, you got people starting to pull in purse strings, and that's going to be a tough to pull ourselves out of that as far as that goes. The Federal Reserve seems to be reluctant to step in this environment, and you can see why. If they step in and start to cut rates to try to support the economy, and prices may be going up because of these increased tariffs. And we still have 145% tariff on China for everybody else outside of essentially Apple and Nvidia for all intents and purposes. And those two companies are super important to the indexes that, we look at. However, the overall economy is still going to take a big hit. You got all these small businesses that, have gone from like $2 million in tariffs to $100 million in tariffs, overnight. And, they don't have $100 million. So when they get done running through their inventory, they're going to have some problems. So again, maybe the tariffs are taken care of before that happens. And so that's kind of what we're watching for, is just to see what's happening. So as we reduced our exposure the day after, 2 days after, Liberation Day back in the middle of April, April 2nd, actually. And we went from 63% down to 23%, and now we're back up to 33%. So I feel pretty good with where we're at. We were going to make some move, back in a little bit today based on what was happening on Friday, but after they muddied the waters on Saturday and Sunday, it's the same problem that we're having. We need some clarity. The market needs clarity. I feel like there's very little chance for the market to go skyrocketing upward in this particular environment that we're in. This environment could change. It could, go away fairly quickly. Again, if you look at 2018, the last time we did this, the tariffs weren't as big, so that's a huge difference. However, the market dropped about the same. So as we have dropped here, almost 20%, just shy of it in both cases. The problem here is that they're continuing to go. So if they back off again, maybe we come and recover just like we did back in 2018. But we're still out there. And so as long as we're still out there negotiating and, throwing around these big numbers for tariffs, I think we need to be a little bit cautious and sit on the sidelines a little bit and just wait and see what's going to happen for a more, a safer environment where we might have a consistent time to get into the market where it can start growing again like it used to. So anyway, that's where we're at the moment. A good day today. We've actually had a good week last week, and on a bounce up basis. So I'm glad we have some exposure to the market that we're kind of, capturing some of that movement. But I think with this, kind of chaotic situation that we're in right now, it will be difficult for the market to really take off here. Again, that chaos could disappear tomorrow. But it hasn't at this point in time. So we'll just keep our eyes open, keep going, keep looking. Again, we're kind of managing more by tweet than by fundamental analysis at this point in time, and that's because this scenario is pretty unprecedented. So look forward to being able to talk to you again tomorrow. Thank you.